I'm Terrence James, and you're watching another episode of Neutral Reviews, where we do real reviews for real decisions. And today, we are looking at the 2022 Volkswagen Atlas Crossport Execline R-Line. I did it. And I borrowed this vehicle from Levens Volkswagen in London, Ontario, who are the nice guys for a reason, and they're well known by that name because of their amazing customer service, but who also offer some of the most practical and well-engineered vehicles on the planet today, including this one. So in 2018, for that model year, Volkswagen decided to throw themselves into the North American sea of mid-size SUVs with the Atlas 7-seat offering, and decided to market it with the only way you should market a vehicle like this, which is with practicality. But for the 2020 model year, what they did was they lopped off the back, rounded it off for this sportier Crossport version to market to those with only slightly less chaotic lives, and who are also looking to hold on to the glory years for a little bit longer. But I can't make fun of them because I bought a 2+2 sports car to put in my baby seat. So we look today at the facts, feels, and final thoughts of the 22 Atlas Crossport to see if it is still worthy of that VW badge that's all about practicality and being well engineered. So let's take a look. The first thing we want to talk about in the facts portion of this show is, where does the Atlas Crossport fit in the Volkswagen SUV lineup? Well, it's at the top of the tier, above the Toaz and above the Tiguan, but it's below now the ID.4 fully electric vehicle. And you're looking at 4 different trims in this. You're looking at the Trend line, the Comfort line, the High line, of course this Execline, which all now come with the R-line look. And when you're looking at competition, there's many out there, but most likely you're looking at the Ford Edge, the Honda Passport, and the Acura RDX. Now the Honda and the Acura seem to be coming in about $5,000 or $6,000 less, but you have that Honda reliability behind it, and they also have more power. That Ford Edge seems to be around the same price, but again has more power. But what this Atlas has, which those don't, is that German engineering and that practicality focus. So before we talk about that, let's talk performance. Now, all trim levels use Volkswagen's 2-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine, producing around 235 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. But on the Comfort line and above, you can get this 6-cylinder, this 3.6-liter, producing 276 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque. And it is in the high 3,000 pound range, but it can actually rocket this vehicle from 0 to 60 in around 7.5 seconds, which isn't too bad and comparable with other vehicles this size. But both engines use a 70-liter gas tank, which will produce around 22 miles per gallon on that 4-cylinder combined average, and it's a little bit worse. You're looking at about 20 miles per gallon on the V6 because it's not as good in the city. So you're looking, again, that is about 10 liters per 100 or about 12 liters per 100, depending on whether it's a 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder, because the 6-cylinder isn't as good in the city. But let's talk about the rest of the performance features around the side. And as we continue on the side here talking performance, we have to talk about steering. And of course nowadays it's electronic, but it is speed sensitive because we have different mode selections. And what we have is a lot of wheel choices. You have 18-inch on the base that look nice. You got 3 different 20s, and on the Exec R-line here you have these standard 21-inch alloy Brailstone wheels, which really look the part and nice and show this vehicle off. And when we're talking about brakes, we have 2 piston in the front and 1 piston in the rear, 4-wheel disc of course. And we're talking suspension, we have McPherson strut up front, multi-link in the rear, and all this is attached to the amazing MQB modular platform that Volkswagen's been using since 2012 on many of their vehicles, and it's an excellent platform. So let's go to the back and talk about towing and cargo. And as we come back to the rear here, we want to talk about performance, we want to talk about towing. So when properly equipped, that 4-cylinder can do around 2,000 pounds, which is equivalent to one of these active lifestyles hanging off the back of your Atlas Crossport. And if you get up to that beefy V6, you can actually over double that amount that you can tow when properly equipped, up to 5,000 pounds, which is equivalent to one of these active lifestyles hanging off the back of your Atlas. Now, let's talk about the meat and potatoes, the practicality. One of the reasons, aside from looking sportier, that you go with the Crossport is because you don't need that 3rd row. You want more space for the people in the middle, and you need more space for cargo back here, and that's exactly what you see back here. There is tons and tons of space in this Crossport version, and you don't lose that much off the back end and how they've sloped it down either, especially when you look at how much more that you can gain back here. You've got some nice deep pockets on the side here that I like for putting stuff. You've got a 12-volt style plug in there for all kinds of stuff that you need. And one thing that I love about Volkswagen is all the little practical things they hide here and there. You've got tie downs like a pickup truck, which is super handy. You've got these hidden hooks here which are nice. And this is an accessory, but this Mud Buddy floor mat here works great to hold things in nice and tight and also keep things nice and dry because it is concave as well. So when we're looking here, as we said, there's tons and tons of space, and these seats are 60/40 like most vehicles nowadays. So when they're down, you're looking at about 77 cubic feet of space, and when they're up, you're looking at about 44, which is really decent in this segment and why a lot of young families go towards it. So let's talk about the feels portion next and get on to styling. So let's talk styling. And when we talk about styling on the 2022 Atlas, we have to stop right here and talk about this coupe design, because that is the Cross Sport. So essentially, as we said, what they did was they lopped off a large section of the rear end, kept the wheelbase the same, but sloped this off to make it look like a coupe. But the real reason from doing that, not only does it look sportier, but on the inside, as we were saying, you get a lot more space for those people in the middle row, and most importantly, you get that extra usable cargo space on the back. But we are in the styling portion, so besides the wheels and all these nice features, what we want to talk about is that Volkswagen has kept this classic design language for Volkswagen. And what I mean by that is the whole group, whether it's Audi, Porsche, or Volkswagen, they have very refined looking vehicles, but subdued. They look very interesting and classic, but they're not in your face. And they look high end, especially the Volkswagen. And it's quite impressive, because if you're not into cars and you put this beside a Mercedes or an Audi or anything like that, you probably wouldn't know the difference. But let's talk about the inside styling and see how we feel about that. One of the things that you're going to notice right when you get in here is that you're going to feel really at home if you own any other Volkswagen products. The design language is very similar in here, and one of the things that I love with Volkswagen, including my Mark 7 GTI Autobahn, is the fact that they really do look high-end. So when we talk in here and we sit down, first thing we notice is seats, and these seats are awesome. On the R line, you get these perforated leather seats that look nice, and we've got two-tone here on this particular vehicle. And when you look at the base line, you're of course going to get your premium cloth seats, and then when you move up to the comfort line, you're going to get those fake leather seats, but they still look nice. And then when you move in your high line and this Execline, you're going to get these nicer treatments and nicer materials in here. These seats hold you in quite nice. They're well bolstered, so they're pretty sporty because this is the Cross Sport, but really they're more geared for ergonomics and comfort, which they are great for those. You're going to get manual seats in that base, and then as you keep going up, you're going to get more and more power options on those, including both sides. And when you get the Exec and R line here on this one, you're also going to get memory, which is nice as well if you have multiple drivers that are in and out. Heated seats, again, as you started going up those tiers, I believe comfort line and above, or at least high line and above, you're going to get heated front seats. This actually has ventilated seats in the front, heated, and you get heated seats in the rear. I have not been in a new Golf R yet, or GTI, but to me this looks like the new Golf R steering wheel. It's very sporty. I love, again, this perforated type feel right here. It's not too thick, not too small, good diameter. Well, so the only complaint that I have with this steering wheel, and really it's not a complaint because it's an SUV and this is a mid-size SUV, but it's a little school bussy. Again, I complain about this all the time because I have a BRZ with a small diameter steering wheel that's more upright, but again, this vehicle is not going for sportiness, so this steering wheel is just fine, and it's telescopic and tilting as well. Switch gear all works well, and again, if you're familiar with Volkswagen, all the switch gear in here looks premium. Pedals, nice. Again, these are upgraded pedals, but they look really nice and high-end. When we come over here and we start talking about practical features, lots of storage in here, as you can see. And in your glove compartment, you've got a fair amount of storage in there. Door pockets, you have cup holders and all kinds of stuff that you can put in there, and they look like they would fit a lot of water bottles at different sizes and shapes. And of course, you got two water bottles here that are somewhat adjustable for different sizes, and it looks, again, like they would hold it in nicely. And you got some lighting in here and a nice rubber mat in there on the bottom to hold things in. You have your mode selector here. I like the dial so you can go left and right through different modes, and your actual drive modes are right here for your sport, normal, custom, and eco. Not a lot of differences, to be honest, when I switch through those, but again, that's like my my Golf as well. And here you also have different off-road modes, which is pretty cool. You've got your snow mode, and then this puts you into those drive modes we were just speaking, and then you have two different off-road modes, automatic and custom over here. What I do like with this vehicle is they have kept physical buttons for your heating and ventilation, which again, if you're familiar with Audi and Volkswagen products, you're going to feel right at home here. All the switches, they feel really good. They're good weights, good clicks, and it's just nice. It's easy to reach. It's very ergonomic. You've got all of your heated seat type buttons and things like that here. Actually, the heated steering wheel button is actually on the steering wheel, which is handy. You've got your auto start stop button over here, and back up to the actual infotainment itself. Again, as we said, it's a good looking one unit, not only in how it fits in there, but actually the display itself. It's very clear, it's very crisp, which I like. They have modernized it, so you do have more of your electronic buttons here, but unlike the lessons that poor Honda had to learn with the Type R and to retool their system to put hard buttons back on, Volkswagen has been smart enough to keep those on for your tuning and your volume there. Now, I don't want to get too in-depth into this stuff, but once you get up to this level, when I say this level, the Execline, you actually get navigation. So if that is important to you, keep that in mind, but all trims, including the base Trendline, have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now in the base model it's going to be wired. When you get up to this one it's going to be wireless if you want it to be, but regardless, a lot of people do like using the map features from their phones. But if you do want to use Volkswagen, you can get it in this Execline model, and it does work pretty good. As I said, I'm a Volkswagen owner. It works just fine. Screen, pretty responsive. It's a good size, clear, as we said. And then when you go into your menu, you've got a lot of different things, but one cool thing here is your driver assist. So instead of having a bunch of words, you can just click the pictures and then it's going to pull up what that is. So for here, you got your adaptive cruise control. And then here you've got more of your front assist, your emergency braking, and here your blind spot monitoring, etc., etc. So you can go and adjust those things there. But kind of the claim to fame here for the Audi Volkswagen group is these cockpit displays, especially when you get into higher trims like this one on the Execline. This is a beautiful display in here. It just looks good. The graphics they use, good choices, good colors. And again, just a quick look, because of how responsive it is and how crisp it is, you actually don't even really realize that it's digital at first glance. That's how good this is. But I do like that it's fairly customizable. So it's going to be difficult to see the screen, but what you can actually do on here when you go into your systems here, you can actually customize what shows up on left and right if you want, and you can toggle through those different views here. So there's multiple different views and how you can configure things on your screen, which again is what makes the Audi and Volkswagen digital cockpits very special, that not all manufacturers are doing, and some of them are just catching up. And one of the things that I like too, like a lot of cars, you can go and scroll through different types of information on the car as well, things from navigation, your road signs on this model, fuel to empty, all different kinds of things like that. So it's right there and it's nice and clear and crisp and handy to keep you safe while you're driving. And I also like where they put on the side here your temperature and your fuel economy. Personally really like Volkswagen style with these thick pillars and these thick doors and high belt lines. But with that being said, especially with this panoramic sunroof, as you can see in here, there is a lot of light and a lot of space, and this being a bigger, wider vehicle, a lot of light does come in here. So you feel spacious in here, but you also feel safe. It's a nice, happy medium. But what about those people in the rear? How do they feel? Let's take a look back there. And when we come into the back of the Atlas Cross Sport, again, this is really the claim to fame for this vehicle, is the cargo space and this rear seating back here, because as you can see, there is an incredible amount of room back here. Now again, I'm only 5'7", so I'm not the world's tallest person, but because of the placement of these seats, as you can see, there is a lot of room still here, a couple inches, considering this is a panoramic sunroof and this is a coupe. Because of the placement of these seats, I'd have to say, you know, even if you're 5'10", 5'11", I think you're going to be okay back here. It's especially going to be good for most children and most people that are riding back here. And as you can see, because of these thinner front seats and this increased leg room, there is tons and tons of space back here for leg room. There's absolutely no worry there, because these seats are back about as far as they can go, and I'm swimming back here. I still have lots and lots of room. And much like the Porsche Cayenne that I was in, and even the Sportage recently, we have these reclining back seats Oh, that's nice, especially on a long day of shooting like this. That's wonderful. Both sides do that. And you can't really see this right now, but beside me, I have a baby seat. This is not mine. I do have a baby, and I have my own baby seat, and I forgot to bring my baby seat, so thankfully this vehicle already has one to show you again that you can put 3 baby seats side by side here if at all need be. I feel bad for you if that is the case, but even if you just need 2 seats, you can easily fit a 3rd adult back here to wrangle the children if need be, as we said. So there's tons and tons of space back here. And one thing that I like with this vehicle is these seats back here are as comfortable as the front seats. Sometimes, especially in more performance-oriented vehicles, you kind of suffer back here because all the focus is on the front. But really, they've spread the wealth for all passengers in this vehicle to be as comfortable as possible. One of the first things that we like to do when we do our driving portion is talk about our first impressions. And my first impressions were actually this morning picking up this vehicle, and I have to say that I was very impressed. I've seen this vehicle driving around lots of times, including in this trim, so it looks very nice from the outside, so that didn't surprise me. Nor was I actually surprised when I got in the inside, because I do own a Volkswagen and a premium Volkswagen trim. So as I said, getting in here instantaneously, I immediately felt that this looked like an Audi on the inside. I've just been at Audi recently, and definitely I think that gap is narrowing, and it definitely feels very premium in here. Very quiet, very comfortable, tons of space. This is a very big vehicle. I knew it was a big vehicle, but it seems very big. There's definitely tons and tons of space in here. You're going to get lost if you're by yourself, that's for sure. We're going to do too here when we look at steering. We're going to go around this corner pretty fast. It's a pretty sharp corner here. And as you can see, it held really, really nice. Now to test the straight line performance of the 2022 Atlas Cross Sport R-Line. No paddles, no launch mode that I know of. We're just going to put it in normal automatic because this isn't really more about a racing type test. This is more just what kind of power does it have to get away from a stoplight when you got a load full of kids back there type thing. So we're just going to put our foot on the brake pedal here, and away we go. Okay, it takes a second to kick in, but then you can feel that all-wheel drive put some power to the back, and there we go, we're up to 100. So I don't have the official clock on here to know, but I mean, it feels like that's 7.5 seconds or so. You're not setting any lap speed records here, but on the same note, you got plenty of power to get around people and to get away from stoplights. Definitely did not feel unsafe by any means. So same kind of idea here. We're going to test the emergency style type braking just to give you an idea of what kind of brake feel this has if you have to put a little pressure on the pedal. So same thing, we're going to get up to half decent speed here. Same thing, we're near 100 kilometers an hour. We're going to do emergency style stop here. And I have to say that's pretty composed. I didn't feel unsafe. One of the things too that we like to test is the noise, vibration, and harshness, or just how do the dampening and how does the suspension feel day to day over bumpy stuff. So we're in this kind of abandoned parking lot here, which is relatively bumpy, and you can see the undulation of the wheels from the outside GoPro camera, and even me sitting in here, you know, we're going over some bumpy little stuff here. It's very quiet. I mean, you're not hearing a lot of road noise. I don't know if you can appreciate that from the microphone on the camera here, but definitely not a lot of road noise. It's bumpy but soft. And again, one of the things that I love with my GTI Mark 7 and this here in this Atlas Cross Sport is the dampening. It's now time for our final thoughts. We had started this review off by saying that essentially in the 2020 model year, Volkswagen had decided to not just go strictly after the practical buyer like the 7-seat Atlas, but look for those 5-seat needing buyers who are also looking to hold on to those glory years for a little bit longer and want something a little bit more sporty looking, as well as still not sacrificing any of that high level of engineering and practicality. And I'd have to say that's exactly what the Atlas Cross Sport delivers, especially in this high-end Execline R-Line trim. This is a beautiful vehicle that is classic Volkswagen, and what I mean by that is I'm a Volkswagen owner myself, and one of the things I like about it is you can dress them up and you can dress them down. It looks the part with Fords and Hondas and Toyotas and things like that, and you don't look like you're too sophisticated if you don't want to, but you can also dress it up, and when it's all cleaned up like this, especially in this trim, you could park this at a country club beside a Audi or a Mercedes and not be embarrassed. These are very, very nice vehicles, and if this is anything like any other Volkswagen, that I know of owned. It should give you years and years of pleasurable driving that's pretty much worry-free as well because of how well engineered they are. So I would have to say that if you are looking for an SUV that has lots of practicality, lots of reliability, yet still looks the part that you can take just about anywhere at any time, I would have to say you cannot be disappointed with the 2022 Cross Sport Atlas by Volkswagen, and especially in this Execline R-Line trim. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.